Hello everyone, Just Podcast TV is here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new contents.
Episode 421. He is such a bad person. As Greg was shouting, Thomas rushed forward again. But this time, before he could act impulsively, Greg quickly got up and ran towards the door. Facts proved that he was still afraid of getting beaten up. As he stood at the entrance of the hall, he once again cursed at the top of his lungs. Only when Thomas was about to step forward again did he hurriedly flee in panic towards this kind of two-faced person. He could only make a move. There was no effect even if he got beaten up lightly. After Greg fled, the onlookers in the hall gradually dispersed. Some people who were familiar with Sandra kindly went forward to console her and advise her not to be angry. Greg was just that scoundrel. Sandra could only return the consolation with a smile. However, no one would be in a good mood after being stoned in public. As the saying goes, a person has a face, a tree has skin, and a face has been defiled by Greg in public. She did not know how to face her colleagues anymore. She felt that everyone's eyes were looking at her, as if they were mocking her. At this moment, Thomas came close to her. "Nurse Sandra, are you all right?" Remembering that Thomas had helped her get out of this situation, Sandra could only force a smile, no matter how bad her mood was. "Director Thomas, I am fine. Thank you for what just happened just now." Thomas hurriedly waved his hand. It's okay, as long as you're fine. In the future, just call me Thomas." Thomas's words made Sandra think more about it. After all, it seemed a little intimate. Due to Greg being stinky to her just now, Sandra did not want to be so close to Thomas and be hit hard by him. So she would only force a smile, then turned around and she left. At this moment, she only wanted to return to the warehouse. She did not want to see anyone else, listen to any comforting or mocking gazes. After returning to the warehouse, Sandra laid on the table and could not help but cry. She was very sad. At this time, Zach was sitting in Fallon's office. To be precise, he had blocked Fallon's office. "Zach, get up! Don't block me! I have to go down and take care of that scumbag!" Fallon had already heard from others that his daughter was bullied by Greg downstairs. As a father, he was naturally furious. However, Zach stopped him. "Fallon, can you calm down? Go back and sit down." After forcefully pressing Fallon down, Zach said to him, "For the public, you are the hospital director, so you should consider the impact of this matter on the hospital. In private, you are Sandra's father. The matter has already happened. What you should consider is not beating up Greg, but how to help your daughter minimize the impact on her private life." Fallon was very angry, but no matter how angry he was, he had to admit that what Zach said was what he should do the most right now. "But I can't just hold it in anymore. What a scumbag! How can he spoil my daughter like this? Even if she gets divorced, it won't do. She gave him the house and the furniture. He got married and divorced. The child, Alexandria, was also taken away. She left all her family property to him. What else did he want?" As a father, it was natural for him to be angry when his daughter was bullied. Zach could understand this, and he had already considered this a long time ago. Therefore, he said to Fallon, "Don't worry, I have already sent Donnie to deal with this matter. I will let you have the satisfactory result as soon as possible." Since Zach had already said so, and had personally sent someone to deal with this matter, Fallon naturally wouldn't say anything else. But the matter of his daughter, it still gave him a headache. The hardest thing to clean up was reputation. So in the following time, he discussed this matter with Zach in the office, hoping to find a suitable way to help his daughter wash away the dirty water on her body. At noon, Sandra dried her tears in the warehouse and prepared to leave the hospital. She had already thought about it and could not continue working here. Thinking about other people's mocking gazes, she felt that she could not take it. However, at this time, the door of the room was pushed open and Fallon walked in. When he entered, Sandra was worried that he would be worried and angry, so she quickly stood up and said, "Dad." Fallon waved his hand, not giving Sandra a chance to speak. "Okay, let's leave. It's even better if we leave. I have long disliked that dog, Greg. In the future, when you return to my place with Alexandra, I will protect you and won't let other men bully you anymore." After all, the one who took care of her the most and then cared about her feelings was her dad. No one would compare to him in this aspect. After that, Fallon came closer and pressed Sandra on the chair. "Sandra, I have heard about today's matter. What are you going to do?" Sandra shook her head when she was mentioned. "I don't know the details, but I have thought about one thing. I'm going to resign." Fallon nodded. "Just like I thought. I also want you to resign. This way, you won't have to listen to those people's gossip and accept their malicious speculation. But Zach just told me that this won't do. I absolutely can't do this." "Zach!" Sandra was a little surprised. She thought that Zach had gone to hide and did not dare to show his face. Fallon nodded. "Yes, it is Zach. He came to my office to block me when you were in trouble. I know. He blocked my way in my office because he was afraid that I would get angry." Sandra suddenly realized that she had misunderstood Zach. She really did not want her father to see her situation when she was humiliated. That would make her feel that her father had been impacted by her. Therefore, she was especially grateful to Zach for stopping Fallon. At this time, Fallon continued, "Zach told me in the office that you absolutely can't resign. If you don't resign, you can face this matter calmly. Naturally, you won't be able to face it easily in a short period of time, but once this matter of time passes, the storm will disappear. But if you resign, then everyone will say that your ugly matter has been exposed, and that's why you left. So even if you really did leave this place and go somewhere else, rumors will follow you like you've grown legs, and you won't be able to stay quiet no matter where you go." Sandra thought for a while. What Fallon said, or more accurately, what Fallon said to Zach, was very reasonable. "But Fallon waved his hand. "There are no buts. Zach has sent people to deal with Greg. He has also taken care of the aftermath. He is working hard for your reputation. It has been hard on Zach." Sandra's heart warmed when she heard that Zach was doing so many things for her. However, when she heard Fallon say that it was because of him, the principal, Zach, she felt a little nostalgic. She thought to herself, "What's because of you? It's obviously because of me." Episode 422, Just Rewards. With Fallon's comforting words and Zach's hard work and help, Sandra was able to muster up her courage and continue working. However, when she ate in the restaurant at noon, she realized that there weren't as many mocking gazes as she had imagined. Those colleagues and friends should still greet her as soon as they saw her. They wouldn't mock or discriminate against her because of this matter. This made her feel so much better. Although there was a few male colleagues who glared at her and wanted to add her on Instagram, she simply ignored them. She knew that these male colleagues definitely thought that she was a lecherous woman and thought that it was very easy to hook up with her. However, this was still alright. It was much better than the various sarcastic remarks from her previous fantasies. The current situation was already much more comfortable. Sandra felt that Zach was right to convey her words through her father, so she had to persevere. Most of the time, she could only persevere, but the difficulty she could foresee was actually not as difficult as she had imagined. Just as they were about to finish lunch, Thomas came over with a plate. He wanted to sit at the same table as Sandra, but just as Thomas sat down, Sandra got up. "Sorry, Director Thomas. I think it is not suitable for us to sit together and eat." Nodding to Thomas, Sandra, who was already 80% full, got up and left. Thomas looked at Sandra's disappearing figure and felt embarrassed. Seeing the 2 days' worth of performance, Zach smiled and sat down with a plate in his hand. He beckoned at Thomas with his finger. Thomas carried the plate and moved to the opposite side of Zach's table. "Chairman, what do you need me for?" Zach did not delay and directly cut to the chase. "What's the matter? Are you interested in Fallon's daughter?" As soon as these words entered his ears, Thomas felt a little embarrassed. He even looked a little embarrassed. However, he still nodded and admitted it. "She is indeed a pretty good woman. She is about the same age as me. Chairman, you also know that my wife previously complained that I have no future and no backbone. The company has already been annexed and she still went to be a secretary, so she ran away with someone. I've been single for more than a year, and I saw that Sandra was beautiful and that she was not a bad person, so..." Zach smiled. "I didn't know that Director Thomas was also a person who knew how to act cute." Facing Zach's teasing, Thomas felt even more embarrassed. Then Zach asked him again, "Do you want to play or what?" Thomas quickly shook his head. "No, definitely not. I am serious." Zach nodded and did not say anything else. He and Sandra did not have that kind of close relationship that was similar to husband and wife or lovers to begin with. It was just that when they were lonely, they needed to be warm to each other. Other than that, they did not have any other good feelings towards each other. So if Thomas could really give Sandra happiness, it would not be bad. At least he would give Sandra and Alexandra a warm family. At this time, Thomas asked Zach, "Chairman, you are so close with Fallon. You must know something about his daughter. What do you think about Sandra?" Zach replied as he ate, "Not bad. She is a good wife. She is gentle, virtuous, kind, and, of course, beautiful. She also has rules in her actions. If you don't mind that she has a daughter, you can try to chase after her." Zach did not have any extra thoughts about pushing Sandra to Thomas. In any case, Sandra was not his woman. Thomas was especially happy when he found out that Zach supported him to chase after Sandra. He even promised Zach that he would definitely succeed. Zach smiled. "It's good that you can promise to treat the two of them well. Sandra has suffered a lot. Don't let anyone walk out of one hole and fall into another. I don't really like people with such character." Thomas could hear the warning in his words, so he quickly said, "Chairman, don't worry. I am definitely not that kind of person." "That's good." Zach nodded. He ate and talked about other things with Thomas. That afternoon, Greg went to the hospital again. All sorts of confessions indicated that he was talking nonsense in the morning. The police had already found out the truth and had him come here to publicly apologize. But in reality, there were no police officers or anything. It was all Donnie's doing. Donnie did not do anything. He just made 2 sets of remote-controlled explosives and tied one to a tree trunk that was 30 centimeters thick. The other one was tied to Greg's waist. Then he pressed on the remote control with a bang. The 30-centimeter thick tree trunk collapsed. The remaining remote control was held in his hand. He was very kind and hoped that Greg would return Sandra's innocence to her. Greg was very straightforward and agreed at that time. He even swore with his trembling legs that he would definitely return Sandra's innocence. In fact, he did indeed do it. That afternoon, he confessed in the hospital and was then chased away by Sandra. When Sandra returned with her innocence, her heart was also much more relaxed. She did not know why Greg would suddenly come back so kindly to explain his innocence, but she believed that it must have something to do with Zach. So she thought, should she treat Zach to dinner alone tonight to express her gratitude? While she was pondering, a call came from upstairs again, saying that she had some business to do. Looking at the time, it was almost time for Alexandra to finish school from kindergarten. Sandra quickly called Fallon, but Fallon's phone was turned off. As her father, Sandra naturally knew Fallon's habit of turning off his phone once he had a meeting. Now that she could not take off, Fallon did not have the time to answer. So after thinking about it, Sandra could only call Zach and hope that Zach would help to pick up the child. Zach agreed very quickly. Since there was nothing much to do anyway, he got in the car and left the hospital to pick up Alexandra. After having dinner outside and seeing that Fallon and Sandra had not returned yet, Zach brought Alexandra back to his residence. After playing at home for a long time, Alexandra called Sandra and found out that there was still a period of time, so she slept first since she was tired from playing. Zach waited at home by himself. It was only after 10 o'clock did Sandra come to Zach's house. Sandra was touched when she saw Alexandra sleeping and the dishes that Zach had brought home on the table. However, being touched did not mean that it was feelings. Chairman, thank you. Zach kept staring at her, which made her feel a little embarrassed. Episode 423. The result is the most important. In the following period of time, Sandra brought Alexandra back to live with Fallon. However, the development of the hospital during this period of time was quite good. Under a large sum of money, they could reward famous doctors, especially after all the equipment overseas was transferred over. With good equipment, they could also treat patients and save people. There would also be more salary after that. Therefore,